Okay, in our last video, we made these shapes using the gradient tools, and we covered the various drawing tools in Flash and how to use them. So if you don't already have a ball and a shadow on your screen, go back to the previous video and go ahead and make those. What I want to talk about now is the concept of keyframes. And keyframes originated in traditional animation where you had let's say Bugs Bunny is going to jump up and catch the carrot and land. Now, what would happen is you would have a keyframe artist who would illustrate the beginning of the jump, the grabbing of the carrot, and the landing. That's three keyframes. And film was, hopefully you know this, 24 frames per second, which happens to be the default setting of Flash, though you can set it higher or lower as you wish. And so what would happen is they would then hire a tween artist, and the in-betweeners would come in after art school, and they would illustrate all of the in-between sections. So if Bugs Bunny was going to run up and jump and grab the carrot and land in a half a second, that would be 24 over 2, which was 12 frames. 3 of them would already have been illustrated by the keyframe artist, and the tweeners would come in and do the other 9 in between frames. And that's how all of the great stuff that was made by Disney and Warner Brothers was done. So looking at the same principle, we have keyframes, but we also have a couple of rules. One of those rules is that we cannot tween a shape in any collection of strokes and fills that we create. Things that we create with the Flash drawing tools are shapes. So one of the things we want to do is convert these to symbols. Now, there are 3 types of symbols. I'm only going to worry about one of them today. I'm going to hit Modify, Convert to Symbol, which you can see is F8. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this a graphic symbol called ball. Now, what you'll notice is here in the library panel on the right, I now have the ball, and I can go ahead and put this as many times as I want. If I double click one of these, for example, I could change the gradient. Let's go to my color window again. And here's that gradient. I'm going to change this to blue. And what happens is you'll notice they all change. And you can see I'm inside the ball. What happens is these things work just like style sheets or master pages in InDesign. A symbol is just like a master page. It's the master item. And what happens is no matter how many times I use this ball, it's going to download only once, which is one of the great efficiencies in Flash. So here's the ball, and there's something else here that I created earlier, that symbol one. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Here's the ball. I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to say convert to symbol. Another thing we want to notice in this is we've got this little logo here, this little Ralston Purina logo with the boxes, and this creates the pivot point. In this case, it doesn't matter, but if we wanted to create an object that rotated around its corner or stretched in certain ways, we could adjust which side or which corner or the center. Where do we want that pivot point to be? Here I'm just going to have a graphic called shadow, and I'll leave it registered in the center. So I've got the ball and the shadow, and now I'm going to go here, change to my transform tool, and I'm going to go ahead and squash the shadow down, and I'm going to put it near the ball here, and then I'm going to say modify, arrange, send backwards or send to back is fine. And now I've got the ball on top of the shadow. Now, that's all well and good. If I want to tween these things and animate them across the screen, one way would be to put them on different layers, because one of our rules is 1 object per layer, 1 tween per layer. And instead of trying to create 2 tweens and making sure that they land in the same place, what I'm going to do is select them both and say convert to symbol again, and I'm going to call this ball with shadow. And you can name these things anything you want in the library, but please don't name them symbol 1, symbol 2, symbol 3, symbol 4, because you're going to go absolutely crazy trying to figure out what symbol is what. So what I'm going to do here now, I've got the 1 symbol. Notice if I double click on it, I'm inside ball with shadow. It shows me in the upper left-hand corner. And if I double click again, now I'm inside the ball with shadow. And I can go ahead, and if I want to change that color again, I can do that. Go back to ball with shadow, go back to the main timeline, to scene 1. It is very easy in Flash to forget where you are and start working inside of a symbol because the timeline itself looks the same. I'll talk about the differences between the different types of symbols, but graphics and movie clips have identical looking timelines even though they work a little bit differently. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start this here and hold my shift key, and I'm going to scale this ball down and start it here above the upper left hand corner. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to say insert. I can try any kind of tween I want. I think what I'll do today is a motion tween, and we'll have places where we use different types of tweens. I want this to go out to 100 frames. Now, I can stretch this out. 100 frames, remember that we're dealing, if we click on the stage, with 24 frames per second. So 100 frames at 24 frames per second is roughly 4 seconds. And watch what happens. I'm going to drag this out, and then I'm going to stretch it. So what happens now is, as I scrub this timeline, Flash is filling in all of the in-between frames between these keyframes. And if I wanted, I could even, let's see. That's not going to work for me today, so never mind, that's fine. We don't need to complicate things. But here we have this ball moving. If I hit Command Enter or Command Return, it's going to export this, and I can actually see this working. Now the problem, you can see even up on the top, is that it is not actually imitating real life because things accelerate and decelerate. What I want to do here is click on the tween, not on the ruler, but anywhere on that tween, and see where it says ease. I'm going to ease this to the right, which is out. Now there's a bug in Flash. It should say ease or out before you set, it should say in or out before you set a value. What I want to do is bring this all the way to 100 out. Now the way to think about easing is, it would be really nice if it said accelerate or decelerate, but it doesn't. So easing is your gas pedal. If you ease your gas pedal out, your car slows down. If you ease your gas pedal in, your car speeds up. Now we've eased this out, and when we test the video, Command Return, you can see it starts quickly and then it slowly comes to a halt, which makes this ball look like it actually has some mass, like it has some weight, like it's something living in the real world. So this is the idea of keyframes. Now one other thing I'll show you, you might not see this, but if you put View Bandwidth Profiler, it'll be on, and you can look at the size of this thing, and this is 2779 bytes. That's 2.7K. That includes the gradient, that includes the transparency, that includes the animation. So anybody who tells you that Flash is slow has looked at Flash that wasn't done correctly. There's nothing faster than Flash and vector graphics on the screen. So try this exercise with the rolling ball. In the future, we're not going to animate on the main timeline, but what we have, just in review, is we've got the two symbols. This is, and you can see here on the right, it says ball with shadow. Inside, we've got the ball and the shadow together, two symbols combined into one. So we've got the ball inside ball with shadow. On the scene one, we added a tween and we animated the ball.